What's up? Tyler with Plugged On here. We're going to talk about every Ozzy Osbourne album. We're here with Keith. How you doing?
Hello.
And
Hi, I'm doing all right.
wow, you all right?
I'm fine. I don't know what that was.
Right. And we're here with Nick as well. What's up?
What's up?
Nick, was on the Overkill videos that we did, which was a lot of fun. You also do indiemetalvault.com. That's where you can find some other things from him. We said we were going to talk about every Ozzy Osbourne album at the end of the Overkill. Took a little bit longer to get here than usual. But we're going to talk about all 11 Ozzy Osbourne albums. We are not talking about undercovers. I hate that that's even included in the discography sometimes. Like, it's a fucking covers album. I hate when cover albums are included in the overall discography. God, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
So we're talking about just his 11 studio albums. He just put out his latest, Ordinary Man, earlier this year. So basically the process for this goes that we all make an individual list. We put them together. We have a point system that we assign each album depending on where they rank. We get a rough order, and then we kind of debate the list from there and produce a final one here for this video. I think this one kind of came together for the most part. There are some interesting positions that I think each one of us has certain albums that we will get to for sure. So
don't out me like that in the beginning of the video.
Oh, I'm sorry. you're just the first one up.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right, let's get going. At number 11, we have 2001's Down to Earth. We all had this at number 11. Who wants to talk about this? Go ahead, Nick.
The only reason it's not what I call a failure of an album is because I do have a soft spot for the ballad. Now I can't even think of what it's called. Yes, Dreamer. Okay. Yeah, I do like that song. It's very un-Ozzy. It's very much not like the rest of the album, but the rest of it is so painfully boring that I can't think of anything to say about it that's actually worth saying besides it's another Ozzy album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, I like Dreamer and I like Gets Me Through. Gets Me Through is kind of heavy and kind of fun to listen to, but I agree. Outside of that, it is so fucking boring. I can't get over how boring this album is. You have any thoughts, Keith?
I mean, same thing. I like the two singles that came out. Ozzy doesn't necessarily, I think, have any bad albums, but I think this is even worse. This is an unremarkable album from start to finish. It's worse in many ways.
I agree.
It's what I call a D. I call it a D minus. There's one song that says it from an F.
Yeah.
And I guess in you guys' case, two songs, but same thing.
Yeah, it's just some of the songs on here, like some of the chorus and stuff, are just very painful to get through. Like, just boring as hell. All right, number 10, Scream from 2010. Keith, you said your fondness for this album has grown.
A little bit. I mean, I used to, like, it's mostly on, like, the first 5 tracks. Like, okay. Like, I like Let It Die and Let Me Hear You Scream is alright, and Life Won't Wait is, like, I remember being really annoyed by that song when it first came out. Like, I don't know, I just really didn't like that song, but then, like, I guess it's grown on me a little bit and digging me down. But, like, it's a classic example of it's a front-heavy album, if anything. Like, those tracks are good, and then, I don't know, there's just kind of other tracks I couldn't tell you about them, like, at all.
I have a similar thing with this one as I do with Down to Earth. The only difference is there are 2 off of this one that I like, so that's why it gets a place above it. And yes, Let Me Hear You Scream is one of them, because when that came out, I thought it was so great that I actually went and bought the album, and I didn't really like the rest of it. Life Won't Wait is the other one I like, and basically the same story. It grew on me. But I will admit that it's still kind of choppy and honestly pretty corny. The production destroys a lot of it.
Yeah.
But from what you said, it's top heavy in the sense that the 2 songs I like are from the top.
Yeah, to me with this album, I've never really dug it too much. And I know, when Ordinary Man came out, I know we got some comments on a review of like, well, at least Scream had some guitar playing because Gus G's on there from Fireway, and he's fucking great. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but it does not discount that the songwriting, for the most part, is boring as fuck to listen
exactly.
to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind Let It Die. Let Me Hear Scream's okay. I mostly just like the verses on that song. I think the choruses are it grinds my gears on that song, personally.
Yeah.
And I don't think Ozzy has ever sounded bad. And it's crazy to me, we'll talk about Ordinary Man. Like, he sounds like better than ever on Ordinary Man. And he doesn't sound bad on here, but some of the vocal passages just fucking piss me off. Mm-hmm. And to me, the only other song that I don't mind on here is Hand of the Enemy on the back half. But otherwise, I couldn't tell you how a lot of these go. Even if I just did recently listen to it. It's just, I don't know, just doesn't do much for me. So at number 9, we have 2007's Black Rain. Nick, why don't you talk about this one?
So this is one that I have a little bit more of a softer spot for than the two surrounding it that we just spoke for, and that's mostly because the hits are really good. It was the first newer Ozzy album I'd ever listened to. It came out. I'm not going to say it was the first one I remember coming out because it did come out a little bit before I got into metal, but I think the title track holds a lot of value lyrically and poetically, and then Trapdoor was a phenomenal way to go out because of how fast and aggressive it was. And then of course there's the obvious hit, I don't want to stop. Like the other ones, I think production hurts it, and I also think the ballads are they're extremely unflattering. Like, they're meant to be heartfelt, and I think it sounds more like a old man trying to impress a young chick. That's how I got it. I mean, Lay Your World on Me makes me cringe, and I love it. So there's that.
Yeah, I think I Don't Want to Stop is one of my favorite Ozzy Osbourne, Zakk Wylde riffs ever. That song is so fucking heavy, and when those drums start going, it's like, fuck yeah, let's go. And then the whole band kicks in. Holy shit, those pinch harmonics are amazing. I love everything about that song. To me, you have Not Going Away, I Don't Want to Stop, then the title track, and then that's
pretty
it.
much. That's kind of how I am too. I mean, I get the Almighty Dollar is kind of fun, but it also didn't need to be fucking 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the long? That's the long one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up.
All right.
Yeah, I like the first 3 tracks as well, but at least the rest of them I feel like are a little bit more tolerable than the kind of just their tracks on Scream. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, number 8, we have 1986, with The Ultimate Sin, the second and final album with Jake E. Lee on guitar. Nick, you had this a little bit higher.
So it is. I do think it's the weakest of the classic lineup, and it's very much a glam metal drenched album, which I also dig. At the same time, I do think it's very much a grower. The first time I listened to it, the only song I cared for was the closer, Shot in the Dark, which I'm pretty sure we can all agree is fantastic.
Yeah.
But Killer of Giants became an earworm, and Thank God for the Bomb, as silly as it sounds, was pretty cool. Oh, and then also The Ultimate Sin, the title track. I always forget how great that one is. Like that opening, the dun, 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 like it's, I don't know. But it's very, I guess, pop overglazed. Not everyone's gonna like it. It's one of those ones where there are a lot of people who love it and a lot of people who hate it, and I just kind of think it's good. It's not the best.
Yeah. Keith?
Yeah, I mean, I like the only 2 tracks from this album that I think I thoroughly enjoy are, again, the brackets on this album, Ultimate Sin and Shot in the Dark. But I mean, there are other songs that I like, and I think that it's, again, of all the other songs are of a higher quality than I had the previous albums. I like Never Know Why, and Lightning Strikes, I think, is another song that I like. But like, yeah, I agree. It's definitely, I mean, obviously, as you can tell by our list, it's definitely the weakest of the classic albums. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention Lightning Strikes. That is easily like that one was meant to be for the radio, and I don't really think it was. Like, I think it kind of flopped, but like that chorus is as corny as it gets, and as true as that is, I love it. Like I can't stop rocking all night until the lightning strikes again. That's glam metal right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the production of this is so glam metal, and it's so you can tell it's trying to fit in with what's going on at the time, just to try to almost survive a little bit. But "Shot in the Dark" is one of the sexiest songs I've ever heard in my life. So every time there's little like, I guess there are some harmonics in the beginning that he's hitting. Oh my God, just the way he makes them just sing. It's beautiful. I love it. But I don't have too much to add that you guys already said. So number 7, we have 1995's Ozzmosis. Keith, you had this a lot higher.
Yeah, and again, it's for a lot of reasons, like we keep saying. I really like the first 5 tracks on this album. I think the first 5 tracks on this album really good. I mean, Perry Mason's a song you still hear on the radio a lot, and "See You on the Other Side" was the first. If you want to, I mean, I don't know if I'd count this. This is like the first. That was the first like non-original lineup era Ozzy song that I think I really heard was "See You on the Other Side." And I still really like that song. That's probably still in my top 10, maybe even my top 5 Ozzy songs. I just really like that song in particular. But then "I Just Want You" is cool. I think what Ozzy does with his vocals on that song is really different. And I really like the chorus to "Ghost Behind My Eyes." I like this. But yeah, that's basically it. I just think that this is an underappreciated album. Also, I think it gets the vote for best album title.
Yeah,
it is good.
I pretty much agree with everything you said. You hit all of the tracks that I do like, and my problem with it is basically everything that's left. But I mean, 5 strong songs is a good. I mean, that's not bad. They're not my favorites, but "I Just Want You" is definitely my favorite one from that. And also, can we talk about how unflatteringly annoying the closer is?
Amy.
Or I thought it was "My Little Man." Am I wrong?
No, Amy's the closer, but "My Little Man" is in the back half, and that was a song I was going to bring up. That's just annoying as shit.
Yeah, okay. Like it's the same problem as that other one I mentioned. Like it's meant to be heartfelt, and it comes off as like, ugh.
Yeah,
It's fair.
agreed. I agree with you guys. I mean, the first half of this album is amazing, and the second half is just kind of hit or miss. Like I don't mind "Tomorrow," but I mean the rest of it's just, I don't know. It's okay, and I think when you're following up something that's basically a masterpiece and "No More Tears," oh man, and when you start listening to this album, you're like, oh my God, they did it again. I could just see it being in 1995. I mean, I was 2 years old, but listening to that and be like, wow, they fucking did it again. It's a "No More Tears" Part 2, and then you get to the second half, and it's
and then the rest of the album happens.
Yeah, and it's just like it's just nowhere near as good. But overall, I mean, I think it is a good album, for the most part. "Thunder Underground's a pretty heavy song as well for Ozzy. So, anyways, number 6 might be a little controversial, but we have his brand new album, "Ordinary Man." Keith, you had this album at number 4 on your list.
Yeah.
So give me some thoughts.
I know a lot of people didn't like this album because it was so radically different. That's the reason I like this album, is because it's like, I feel like there's a lot more, kind of like where, Nick, you were saying on the last couple ones, so there's a lot of like songs that were supposed to be heartfelt and they didn't connect. I feel like they do, like all over the place.
I back that.
Especially like, I think the 3 songs back to back that I think I'll kind of hit that are "All My Life," "Goodbye," and of course "Ordinary Man." That's still, in my eyes, contender for like one of the best songs to come out this year. Like,
yeah,
I fucking love that song. And even like the more fun, goofy songs like "Eat Me." Like I did not like that song when that album first came out, but I'm like, okay, I can dig this. I mean, literally the only little blemish truly on this album is "It's a Raid." That song is awful, and I think that one song honestly does hold this album back. I would maybe even put it potentially even higher. But like, yeah, that sounds right.
Oh.
And also, I know there's not many classics. There's not many like. I can understand somebody not digging this album because like, a lot of songs I wouldn't classify as classics, but the novelty of it being just so different is what gives it to me.
Yeah. I totally get that. Some of my hotter takes with other bands are because of the album being different, and I went into it with a negative attitude because of disliking Scream, and I came out. I'm not going to say I don't love it, but I liked it more than I thought I would. And what you said about the title track, like that, really hit the heartfelt feeling that it meant to instead of flopping. And I might like Elton John's part even more.
Yeah.
Kind of gives me goosebumps.
Good.
But like, and like the radio hits like the Under the Graveyard and whatnot, they're not great, but they serve a purpose, and I can get behind them. The writing is strong enough to at least hook my ear.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree. I mean, you have to go into this album with a totally different mindset. You're not getting some Zakk Wylde heaviness or some shredding like fucking Randy Rhoads. You're not getting any of that. It's a totally different album for Ozzy Osbourne. I think it's just well made for what it is. And I said it when we reviewed it, but I think if Ozzy wrote "Ordinary Man" in the '80s, it would be one of his biggest songs ever. And not to say that it can't be that, but it's such an amazing song. And to me also, I like Today's the End. Scary Little Green Men's a fun song to listen to, and I like just about everything on this album, except I agree with Keith. It's a raid just that's some vomit to me. I don't like that song at all. And on the flip side, I'll be totally honest with you. I love the Post Malone song with Ozzy.
Yeah.
Love, maybe not. I like it a lot. And I think it's a really catchy song. But, man, you reverse those two. I don't like that at all.
It's all about who takes the writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get that. I forgot about Scary Little Green Men. God, I've only actually listened to the album twice the whole way through. But that's probably actually my favorite heavier song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good one. So, yeah, that's that. Number 5, we have the first album with Jakey Lee, and that is Bark at the Moon in 1983, the first album that Ozzy produced after the tragic passing of Randy Rhoads. Yeah, Nick, go ahead.
I actually wrote a whole piece on this on its anniversary. I guess it would have been that came out in 83? So the 35-year anniversary would have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that it's very well classified as kind of like a horror album, but fact of the matter is, other than the title track, I don't think that's very true. They got that was the big song from it. They got the wolves and the whole scary aesthetic behind it, but actually, for the most part, it too is very glam oriented. But I think it was a better written glam oriented album than the one that came after it. And I think Center of Eternity was one of his best songs. That weird intro led to one of my favorite riffs. And So Tired was a great ballad. He made that one sound. He made the pianos work well to his favor rather against him. And lyrically, I also love the second track, You're No Different, because that's kind of his lashback on all the criticism he got from press and whatnot. So it's a little choppy, but I do think this is an overall solid album in the high B range.
Yeah, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Nick said. I mean, Bark at the Moon is it's one of the most classic Ozzy songs, and it's one of those things where you have to think of almost how almost amazing it is that's how good that song is after what happened. To be able to bounce back like that and put out maybe his most popular song outside of the first two albums. Maybe. I think you can make that argument with Bark at the Moon. Rock and Roll Rebel is another song that I really like. And then, Center of Eternity is good. So Tired. I agree with what you said, Nick, about this album compared to Ultimate Sin. I think it just hits a bit better. It just kind of sticks the landing. Whereas Ultimate Sin kind of, I think, maybe just tried to replicate what happened here, and then it just didn't work out. Because, 9 times out of 10, if you just try to replicate an album, I don't know. You can't capture the lightning in a bottle of that moment.
It's hard to do it again. Oh, and can we talk about the closer, "Waiting for Darkness"? Like that is all but a pop song, and man, I love it.
Yeah.
Like it even has like the title suggests it's going to be this darker song, and it's very much not.
Yeah, agreed. I like this album a lot, and yeah, I mean, what's left to be said about "Bark at the Moon"? I think that's almost one of the most perfect metal songs ever written, and I think Jakey Lee gets a lot of shit, but he is an amazing guitar player, and this song. I mean, a lot of these songs, and songs on The Ultimate Sin as well, but this one in particular, I feel, just showcases, like, he's a great guitar player, but he's doing this in the shadow of, like, of a legend, you know? Mm-hmm. There's no one like Randy Rhoads. There's still no one that has ever played guitar like Randy Rhoads. And so, you know, that's a hard thing to follow up, but I think they did it in a really, you know, the best way they possibly could with this album, and for the most part, it's really good. There are some really just underrated songs on here, like you guys kind of put out, like "Center of Eternity" and "So Tired" you know, those songs are fucking great. And yeah, it's a great album for sure. All right, number 4, we have 1988's "No Rest for the Wicked," the first album with Zakk Wylde in the band. Keith.
Oh boy, yeah.
Explain yourself.
You had this at number 10 out of 11. What's your thoughts?
I mean, it was just from, as I explained a lot, as I explained in detail in our Overkill ranking. Like, again, I'm not usually the kind of guy where, outside of a few instances, and mostly when we do album reviews, I don't listen to albums from start to finish. So for a lot of a lot of these rankings, basically just about all the rankings outside of like the big four and maybe Iron Maiden and I guess Trivium for that matter, like sometimes this is the first time I'm listening to some of these albums the whole way through, and "No Rest for the Wicked" is definitely an example of this. I honestly looked at, when I was going through the list, I was like, fuck, there's a song between there's an album between Ultimate Sin and No More Tears. All right, and I'm like, oh, okay, I recognize some of these songs, and maybe it's a matter of time and like not having enough time on it, but I mean, it just didn't grab me as much as a lot of albums did. I mean, Miracle Man's a great song. So is Breaking All the Rules. I like Breaking All the Rules, and I do like a lot of songs from this album, like Devil's Daughter I liked, and Bloodbath in Paradise is another song that I liked, but it was just didn't grab me. Again, it's probably from that kind of ideal, or even though we've had a month. How long have we listened to? I listened to all this stuff one time through and then had to come back and listen to it again within the last 2 weeks because I'm like, oh yeah, right, we're doing Ozzy, but maybe I just didn't listen to it enough. So that's on me. That's why when we were moving the list around, you guys were moving this album up. I'm like, that's fair. I probably didn't listen to it enough. That's fair. I'm the odd man out here, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. That's why I like doing these videos so much, because you get some of those just interesting opinions that someone has, and I think both Nick and I had this at number 4. I love this album, and there are so many just hits. You know, Miracle Man, Breaking All the Rules, Crazy Babies, Fire in the Sky is amazing. But I think even some of the other, deeper cuts on this album, Bloodbath in Paradise is awesome. Demon and Alcohol, yes, it's so goofy.
Like it's just the way it like drops and everything goes silent, and then he hits the "Let's Party" and it busts back into that riff. Yeah. I think this is a very, very riff-oriented album, and I love how the tones are drastically different from what came before it. Like, it went from their poppier, glammier phase into these, like, mean pinch harmonics meets very poetic vocals, and also Fire in the Sky is probably one of my favorite Ozzy songs ever written. That, like, whew, the build up, the chorus, it's softer, and even in that sense, it still has like a threatening backing. If that makes it, if that, I don't really know how to word that. I'm used to writing my thoughts and not saying them. But yeah, Crazy Babies. It's the way it transitions from the Miracle Man into that. It completely drops down a whole level, and It's just such a mean riff. It was a great one for Zakk Wylde to enter on.
Yeah, I agree, and I love that. You have the Ultimate Sin, which was definitely trying to be, part of the times that's going on with glam metal. But then, I love that. They just said fuck it, and especially Zakk Wylde with his guitar tone said fuck it. I'm going to be something different, and that kind of makes them stand out again instead of just being lost in the shuffle with all the other glam bands that were becoming a lot more popular because still no one sounds like Zakk Wylde, and there's some fucking riffs on here that are awesome, and I think Zakk Wylde needed to be something different. Whereas Jakey Lee's a great guitar player, but still that sound still was very much a little bit more Randy Rhoads. Zakk Wylde coming in just totally, this is me sort of thing. Yeah, take it or leave it sort of thing. And I think it worked really well for them. So
right on.
All right, now we're getting into, the upper echelon of Ozzy Osbourne albums. We each have a different number one. And I honestly think we could put these albums anywhere, and it doesn't really matter because they're all just amazing albums. So, at number 3, we have his second album, Diary of a Madman. Nick, you had this at number 1.
Yeah, this is my personal favorite, and I chalk this up to something we sort of touched on earlier. It doesn't duplicate Blizzard of Oz, but it adds onto it. And to me, this is like your sequel topping the original. It's your Empire Strikes Back, if you will. I thought the songwriting was a little more. It flowed better. It was a bit more poetic. The songs were smoother. On the first album, they were all great, but this one connected the dots. It's like the first one to me works as a collection of great songs. This one's a collection of great songs that all go together. Like You Can't Stop Rock and Roll was the perfect one to come to follow Flying High Again. The first two have the same energy. They settle it down a little bit. You've got Tonight, which takes that acoustic part and drives it into one with some electric guitars. And then you have the title track. It loops off of that and then gets into something heavier and kind of majestic and almost scary sounding with its howls in the background and everything. So, yeah, I this is a 100% album to me. The Blizzard of Oz I have at number 2, so obviously it has the same foundation. But I thought this one took what that did and made it even better.
Keith?
If you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would put this album at number 1. Just because I think, what was it? Because this was the first Ozzy album I owned. Was this one? I remember, maybe not particular memories. You remember the CD warehouse that was over next to Park City? Yep, yes. I remember going with you there one time, and I forget who else was there, and I bought one of the original pressings of this album before they remastered the bass and the drums and whatnot, because they had that there for $5, and I'm like, why would you have this here? And it was a little bit of everybody talks about Blizzard of Oz, I'm going to get this album so that I can be different. And so then, and I like this album a lot. So, everything Nick said, I think the first opening 3 tracks are 3 of the best Ozzy songs ever written. I mean, Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. I personally really like Flying High Again. That's probably my second favorite song on the album, but then even other songs like SATO, and I fucking love all the guitar work in Diary of a Madman. That probably was, until 10 years ago, that I'd say that's my favorite Ozzy song. Boom, that right there. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. I had this, I think I had this on my list of number 3. So, I think it's a bit of, I think the importance of the other 2 albums is maybe sort of me thinking about that's kind of what held this back, in my opinion.
Sure.
Boom, those 2 albums are super important. But yeah, fucking great album though.
I agree. And I think Over the Mountain's one of the best opening tracks to any heavy metal album ever. I mean, that song is just fucking amazing from top to bottom. And I think Diary of a Madman is one of the best closers ever, period. And that guitar work is so amazing and so fitting for who Ozzy Osbourne is as well. And it just it shows the creativity that Randy Rhoads had, and it always makes me think of what could have been.
Mhm.
You know, and just because if this is what we got in 2 albums, and especially that song, like, oh my gosh, it just always makes my mind wonder. But there's so many good songs in here. I really like Tonight. I think that's an amazing song, and I'm not going to go on too much. But I ended up getting this album it was a double pack. It was this album
and No More
Tears.
Yep,
Yes,
that's what I got too.
yeah. It's kind of weird. You would think they would have Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, but hey, it works. Yeah. It works out. And I remember, back when, I was playing guitar a lot, and I remember our buddy Brandon, he would play Diary of a Madman all the fucking time on that. He learned that whole intro. It was just so cool. Yeah, what a cool fucking thing. It's such a great album. So number 2, we have 1991's No More Tears. Keith, this was your number 1.
I think that, in some ways, Ozzy's first 2 albums are maybe just more significant for different reasons. Blizzard of Oz being Ozzy's first solo album, and Diary of a Madman for the tragic reasons, obviously, but also just being really good albums. But I just think that even though both those albums hold up really well and they're good, I just think it maybe in some ways there's just a lot more songs that I like on this album, which I think was part of it. And also part of it came from the fact that I thought 2 of the songs that I really like on this album were on a different album. I could have sworn last I remember that Desire and Hellraiser were on Ultimate Sin. And then I honestly brought that album down a little bit when we listened to it. I'm like, those songs aren't here? Oh, that's that's just how my brain interpreted it. But I mean, I Don't Want to Change the World's great. Of course, Mama, I'm Coming Home is probably the fucking biggest song from this album. Desire is great. I remember the Desire only really sticks in my head a lot because, again, to bring up Brandon again, we would always work out to that song. It's just that's just the song that sticks in my head. No More Tears is great because it's got that bass line that slaps, and it's just a weird song, especially when it gets in the middle, and I'm just like, what's happening? Hellraiser, which is just cool because that was co-written or written by Lemmy from Motorhead, which is awesome to think about. But then I fucking love the Road to Nowhere, the closing track on this album. I think that's the best closing track on any Ozzy album. That song's just great. Not to be confused with the Bullet for My Valentine song, but
Yeah.
I might have that song.
Well, you can agree with that, actually. Road to Nowhere is definitely one of my favorites. And bit of a hot take here. I actually like the Motorhead version of Hellraiser better. A lot of people, Motorhead fans, even tell me they prefer the Ozzy one. I like the gruff vocals of Lemmy's voice on it. I love this version too, but I don't know. I heard it on Sirius XM one time. I was like, wow, I might like it a little better. No More Tears, the title track. Every single time that comes on, I can't turn it off. It's one of those ones where I hear it over and over again. It's 7.5 minutes long, and I still don't get tired of it. And that truly signifies a really well-written song. It's got all of its phases. It's got different moods and everything. And in a way, this album kind of combines a lot of what they did in the 80s because they brought back the synths despite doing away with that on No Rest for the Wicked. But they kept that heavier backing, and they brought a whole bunch of ideas into one massive disc. Desire is a great one that gets a little more overlooked. And I Don't Want to Change the World was my favorite Teenage Rebellion song. I would listen to that and think, yeah, fuck all the adults, man. But I still think it's a really good one now, for a different reason, of course.
Yeah. Well, when you think about these 3 albums too, and I mean at this point it's no surprise what we have at number 1, but it's just these albums are up there because it is literally just hit after hit after hit. Every fucking song on here is amazing, and every song on No More Tears is amazing. I mean, you think about just that main riff in No More Tears, there is bands in the metal world that strive for that riff in every fucking song that they do.
Yeah, of course.
And yet you have that in an Ozzy Osbourne song, something that just chunky.
Yeah.
And but then that song's just amazing. But then I think the guitar work in "Mama I'm Coming Home" is some of the best guitar work Zakk Wylde has ever done. And but then "Desire," Hellraiser is amazing. I like "Time After Time" as well. And it's just you can't go wrong with almost any song on here. I don't want to go on too much because you guys really summed it up. So
right on.
All right, so then at number 1, we have Ozzy Osbourne's debut, Blizzard of Oz, 1980, after leaving Sabbath. And,
after getting kicked out of Sabbath.
Well, yeah, exactly. But anyways, this is my number 1, and I just think it's just, to me, not only is there just so many incredible songs on here, but there's even some like kind of underrated songs, like "Steal Away the Nights," fucking great. "Goodbye to Romance." I know that is a popular song, but it's one when you're talking about the songs off of Blizzard of Oz that not a lot of people talk about, in my opinion. But then of course, you have "I Don't Know," but then which is an amazing opener to this album. And then you have Mr. Crowley, which has some of the best guitar work and 2 of the best guitar solos I've ever heard in my life. And to me, just showcases how really special Randy Rhoads was with those solos. They're a fucking killer. And everything about this album's great. And then you have the really goofy song, or "No Bone Movies."
I fucking love that song.
I still love it. Exactly.
Yeah, I love it too. It's so goofy, and it's just such an amazing thing to come out.
Cool. So one of the only tracks you actually didn't mention, Mother Earth. My favorite ones are that one into "Steal Away the Night." The two make a great pair, and the only reason why I struggled to say that my favorite closer is "Road to Nowhere" is because I might like this one a little bit better. But I think the 2 songs together capture everything important on the album as one final summary of everything. The sadness and the piano in Mother Earth, and the poetic flow, versus the raw, fast energy in "Steal Away the Night," and they transition beautifully. Like just when it hits, like the great transition. I was going to bring up "No Bone Movies" too, because I didn't think anybody else would, but here we are. As silly as it is, I think it is also one of the superior riffs, and of course, "Goodbye to Romance" is also a classic ballad. I like that little section at the end that doesn't use I think it's a synthesizer. Almost takes place of the vocal melody. But yeah, this I have right under "Diary of a Madman" in my list, and the only reason why "Diary" tops it is because it did away with a little bit of, not that I dislike silliness, and not that I dislike. I mean, come on, I listen to Kiss, but I think the one that followed it was just a tighter version of that, just like my opinion of Empire to A New Hope. The original Star Wars is great. Empire was even better. And I think Jedi was even better than those. But I'm not going to get into that.
It's a whole different debate.
That's a different video.
So anyway, before that happens, Keith.
I mean, when I was making my list, I probably, before I sent my finalized list to Tyler, bounced back and forth between putting this at number 1 and "No More Tears" at number 1, because even though I think I legitimately like "No More Tears" better, I think probably this album deserves it more for just its significance. I mean, probably the two of the, if not the 2 greatest, like, metal/rock songs in "Crazy Train" and "Mr. Crowley," or at least like the most noteworthy. They're both up there, but there's not a bad song on this whole album. Like we said that about a lot of these albums. I feel like even more so with this, because I don't know, great opener, "Suicide Solution." So was a song that I was like jamming to, and it was like, yeah. And then you think about some of the controversy around that song, and it's like, man, but this song rocks. So what's going on? I think in "No Bone Movies," I'll throw my hat into that one. That's a goofy, fun song. I really like "Steal Away the Night," especially like the chorus. The chorus is super catchy to me. But yeah, I'm not gonna harp on too much. I just think that this is maybe that could be a list for some time. Maybe the best debut album ever.
Oh,
It's up
man.
there. It's up there.
Yeah,
I
that'd
put it
be
up.
a fun video
That
to
is-
make.
That is a totally different list.
I mean, yeah, I could go. I'm not going to name a bunch of them, but like, yeah, that's like it's definitely one of them. It has
Yeah.
to be at this point.
Certainly.
Right.
So
Yeah, it'd be fun to make sometime. I wish I could go back in time to 1980 and be a metal fan when Ozzy is going solo and puts out this album, and then you have Sabbath with Heaven and Hell coming out with Dio. Oh my God.
See, that's so hard for me because Heaven and Hell is one of my favorite Sabbath albums.
oh yeah, like it's. I mean, it's
Hot
maybe-
take. That
maybe-
is my favorite Sabbath album.
maybe
I'm
I'd
just
have to
gonna
think
say
about
right
it more.
there.
I'd have to think about it more. I mean, it's at least number 2 for me. Oh,
I think I have it.
again. That's another list for another day.
Yeah. We'll be doing Sabbath at some
I
point.
guess that tells you which list is coming next.
Yeah, it'll be coming for sure.
Big discography.
Oh, yeah.
So what? 22 albums? That we figured out?
I think it's 20 even.
Yeah.
So hold on, let's do this. There are 8 Ozzy albums, 3 Dio albums, Glenn Hughes, Ian Gillan, and 5 Tony Martin, and then the Ozzy reunion. And if you count Heaven and Hell, then there's even another, the Devil. There's even another one. So
yeah, it's a lot. We'll be doing that eventually. There's a couple that I think we have coming up. But yeah, that's it. That is the definitive Ozzy Osbourne ranking for his solo. Just think about Ozzy Osbourne for a second. Not only is he just, it's amazing how he's still alive and all the things he's done, but then to have such an amazing career in Sabbath when he was in Sabbath, and then to go solo and be just as big.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
never happens.
Crazy. No.
Usually, I'm not going to say they usually suck because there usually is good stuff, but they're usually never as.
Yeah.
Or your
Definitely.
Led Zeppelin members and all of their solo projects are absolute crap. But that's just my that's my
Fair.
own take.
Yeah. It's just amazing. It's just amazing, and there'll never be anyone like Ozzy again in metal.
Probably not.
No, no, God no.
Probably not.
Hopefully, I know he was going to do a second leg of his tour, then got sick, and now there's coronavirus. So hopefully, maybe people will get to see Ozzy Osbourne again one last time in the future. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So, yeah. Anyways, that's it. Let us know what your ranking is of the Ozzy Osbourne albums. Thank you for watching or listening.
Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. See you
problem,
guys
man.
later.